Well, it's great to meet you, and I want to begin our conversation before we peel back the layers of your work and your passion by asking you, how did you survive the pandemic the last 3.5 years? How did you get through it, and how did it change you?
So the first thing is where a lot of people were sheltering in place, and um, they lost a lot when it came to the financial aspect. It was actually a time of prosperity for me. I am a closing attorney, and rates dropped tremendously, and so people were refinancing, they were taking out home equity loans, and people who were behind had modifications and were completing assumptions, and that means I was closing. And I went from doing maybe 10 closings in a week to sometimes having that in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and that pace stayed up for 2 full years. And I was able to see the best of humanity with the kindness that was extended to me. Since everyone else was sheltering in place, I was going to their homes, and I, of course, wore the mask and gloves, and we maintained social distance. Sometimes we were outside, and they would give me hand sanitizer and antibacterial wipes and bottled water, and I would watch them sanitize for me, right? But I also saw the worst of humanity as well. Um, and I learned not to judge people too much for it. I had one gentleman who consistently said, the most important things in this world are in this house, and I'm sorry that I have to treat you this way, but and he wanted me to stand by the trash. And I was just like, but I love myself enough and the people that I love that this is not okay. So we have to find somewhere else to be. And to walk away from the experience and to see those incredible um, differences in the way people behave and the way they react under extreme pressure, because I do realize that's what it was. It made me much more observant, more compassionate, and I continue to bring forth those feelings when I am dealing with people on their best days and on their worst.
Well said. So let's get to the essence of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third grade students. It's career day. And one of them asks you, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that child?
I inspire people to be the best human beings they can possibly be. And I do that in multiple ways. I use my training as an attorney to help them to make their dreams come true and achieve financial freedom and peace so that they can focus on the things that they've been called to do. I also do that with my voice, coming and speaking to your class, the third graders, as an inspirational and motivational speaker. And I do that with the written word as well. I am the author of 5 books. And while they have been progressively focused on leadership and mostly women in business, my last two have really been on helping people get on the right track mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
In the third grade, I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And the fifth grade, my teacher told me never become a teacher. So, so I picked something else, or it was chosen for me. I chose to one day become an attorney. On my way there, I majored in accounting undergrad, and so I became a CPA and practiced for a few years before going back to law school.
I always love the way the lawyer mentality works. You all have to be such a jack of all trades. You really have to have your finger on a lot of different things. You're always so well spoken. There's a wisdom that goes into that world, and I think it probably has to radiate through everything that you do.
I do my best. Um, but I think one of the things, and particularly with working with other attorneys, I have to remind them, guys, have some fun. Can't
Right.
always be so serious.
So, who's been a hero for you in your life?
Oh, I have been incredibly blessed to have multiple heroes. I think the primary hero, though, is my mom. The best advice I have gotten personally as well as professionally, and I use it in my business every day, has come from my mother, who worked, she's a retired nurse, 40 years, and she has worked both hospital and corporate. But it's the granny sense that has gotten me through most things. Um, Maya Angelou said it best. People will forget what you said and what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And my mom was a hero at making people feel good.
Yeah. That's wow, that's wonderful. I always forgot that. I always remember that quote, and it's so true. It really is about that. Um, so if you can meet one person alive right now on the planet and spend some time with them, who would it be?
The Buddha, he had everything and walked away from it to achieve enlightenment and to share it with others. Because I think a lot of people forget those things go together. Once he achieved it, he could have gone home and assumed his rightful place as a prince. He was, in our time, dollars. He was a billionaire,
Yeah,
and he walked away from all of it to walk what he knew of the world at that time and share what spirit had shared with him.
yeah,
And his dying words, after being poisoned unintentionally, food poisoning, was to the person who served him a piece of tainted meat to give him forgiveness and grace, and so that he would know that all things work the way they're supposed to. There's no reason for you to feel guilty. I am going home to meet my maker, and I am okay with that.
wow,
I think that that is amazing.
yeah, it certainly is. What's your inspiration every day? What is it that gets you out of bed? What is it that gets you to accomplish what you want to get done and ultimately to be you?
The idea of getting up and seeing what the day has in store, I am excited about it. There are no 2 days of my life that have been exactly the same, period, like ever. And it's one of the things that I love about me. I love about life. I love about people. I mean, even sitting here with you during this interview, this is what is exciting for me. And I
Yeah.
am very grateful.
I do jazz radio, and I've realized, I mean, we always know the uniqueness of life, but I've really had it hit home, like interviewing and being around that world, because ultimately, there's a lot of singers and a lot of performers that they do the same routine all the time. But the world of jazz, they go into this unknown, and it's never, ever going to be the same. It's always going to be uniquely once and gone. And that's the beauty of how things happen. It's just, anything you witness, and no matter how many incarnations, it's just going to be a little different.
That's exactly right.
So it's a good thing. So, of all of the things that you've done professionally, what what's one of your best success stories, whether as a writer or whether as an attorney? What is one that always puts a smile on your face?
That I survived. And I say it like that because I have had many health challenges during my life. And I tell people about them. I'm very honest. I've had stage 4 endometriosis, which is the uncontrolled growth of uterine cells outside the uterus. And for most women, they don't even know they have it because it does not affect them. I'm not most women. I knew about it and it did affect me. And each time I've had surgery, I got up and I became better. And that puts a smile on my face. That is a huge victory because each time I came back as a better lawyer for my clients, I came back as a better mother for my daughter, a more empathetic and compassionate life partner to my husband. I am able to show up for a person that I'm proud of.
Yeah. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into a much younger version of you, say in your 20s, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained so far in your life up to this point. What advice would you give that young version of you?
I would tell my 20-something-year-old self not to take life so seriously. When I was in my 20s, for some reason, I felt like everything had to be done before I was 30 years old. It was almost like I felt like the sky was falling. And so I was grinding. And life is not a grind. Life is a joy. Take time to enjoy conversations. Don't always rush through them. There is plenty of time to achieve everything you ever wanted in this world. And so what if you're 40 when it happens? Guess what? 40 is still living.
Yeah. That's the thing that I find bizarre about how the mentality of humans work. We always say senior year of high school, best year of your life. Can you imagine if that was the best year of your life?
Oh my gosh. I would be so depressed.
I would too. It's like, come on. You just got to successively move through this journey. I mean, that's the idea of it, is that we grow and we take on different roles and we see, and the beauty of age is that, we have that chance to perceive things in a much like a fine wine. It's like it just takes a little while to be in the barrel, you know,
That's right.
and
That's
we got to
exactly.
figure it out. So, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I was meditating one day and I heard spirit tell me that the ultimate successful life is one full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And at the time, I'll be honest with you, I thought that was very woo woo. I'm a lawyer and an accountant, so I was just like, what does that mean for me? And then I heard research, and then I got the numbers behind that. You know, 66% of the people that we are affiliated with are disengaged and unhappy with their lives.
Yeah.
That means that if there are three people in the room, then two of them are unhappy and disengaged. 45% of people, they don't even remember how happiness feels. And 78% of people are willing to pay for experiences to be happy. Okay, so that means that happiness is not what we're going for. We're going for joy.
Yeah.
We're looking for something that's beyond that, something that is sustainable. And that joy is based upon gratitude and thanksgiving. And when I read those stats, I was like, okay, I got it, Spirit. Those are the numbers that I needed. No longer woo woo.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, as a writer, what was the first book you read that really opened the curtains up that made you want to either read more or write one day?
The first book I read that made me want to read and write myself was called Tiger Lily. And I did not, Shirley Busby. It is out of print. I read
Yeah.
it when I was in elementary school. And it was a romance novel. It was actually one of my mother's. I snuck it. And the writing was so beautiful. It was prolific. She was a historical romance writer, so the book was like 400 or 500 pages, and I just gobbled it up because I got lost in that world and I
Yeah.
just loved it. And I was like, I would love to do this one day. Now I don't write romance novels, and if I did, I would probably write under a pen name anyway. But that's how I got my start.
Yeah, absolutely. So of all of the things that you've done professionally, you really are kind of a Renaissance woman. There's a lot that goes into you. You're using the right and left side of your brain. But professionally speaking, what are you the proudest of that you've done?
The proudest of I've thing I've ever done is to run a publishing company that became so big and successful. I actually had to break it up into two, and so we had and still have publishing under Leading Through Living Community. So that's inspirational and motivational books, mostly my own, but I do still help other authors. And then the media company, which was Bold Favor Media Group, where we had 5 magazines and covered red carpet events, including the Soul Train Music Awards. And it was a lot of fun, met amazing people. And I really learned how connected we all are as humans through our stories. We are all just one story from our breakthrough, one story from a great relationship, one story from everything we ever wanted in this world.
So let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends. your readers, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am an inspired being, taking one step at a time to be the best human that I can. I work really hard to show up as the same person in every venue. I was not always comfortable doing that. I did what we used to call code switching, where in one venue you're one person to please the crowd, and in another you're someone else. And it was a lot of work. It was stressful,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand how confusing that was to other people when they would meet me in two different places and I'm showing up as two different people, trying to please who was around instead of pleasing me and being at peace with who I am.
So it's just all about being authentic.
Absolutely, 100%.
I remember doing an interview with a musician one time, and he had a professor that was just kind of this sage guy, and he had mentioned that he admired the fact that that's the way he was. With everybody, he was the same way, which I think is really hard. It seems simple on paper, you know, but when you have to
Yeah.
actually execute it and get into different crowds. So I want to end everything on a really rousing note. You obviously have a very deep thirst for this life and existence. So if you could get it, we get off the phone, time machine pulls up in front of your house, you can get in there and go anywhere in history and see one event with your own eyes. Where are you going? What would you love to have seen happen?
So I'm going to remove the word love because I know this is going to sound really depressing, but I would absolutely want to be there at the crucifixion. There is this part where Jesus goes within right before he ascends, and his last words are forgiveness for the people who put him there and were responsible for his, I mean, call it what it was, his murder. To be there, yes, I would absolutely like to be there.
Yeah,
I
that
would
would be heavy.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. If anyone out there wants to hire you, get your books, learn more about you, anything about your world, where is the best place to go?
That would be my website, LynitaMitchellBlackwell.com, LYNITA. And we can connect. You can join my email list, follow on social media. I will follow you back and let's connect.
Lynita, you have a beautiful, radiant soul. Thank you so much for opening up today. Best of luck with everything. Send my love to Georgia. I will tell you, I did go there one time. I was coming back from Florida, and I'm from the Midwest. Boiled peanuts blew my mind the first time. I was like, wait, hold on, these are wet?
They were really good too, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they are. It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a different vibe, but I'm down. I'm good for it. So thank you so much, Lynita. Best of luck with everything. Keep on shining. We need it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.